Good morning. Good morning, LinkedIn. And good morning to all the parents and also all the soon to be grads, maybe new grads that are joining in today. I'm wearing uh, Sam's bar mitzvah. This is so crazy. I'm wearing his bar mitzvah T-shirt
To my
from
surprise.
2010, and I'm doing that in honor of not just Sam, who's here, and many of you know this guy's my younger son, but also as a rallying cry to all those people that are ready to live it up, not only in their career but in their whole up and coming life as they are about to embark on the world and graduate. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce this guy. Yes, you can see maybe some resemblance. We are related. And part of why I'm bringing him on here is not just because he's my kid, let's be honest, but because I am truthfully awestruck by what he's been able to do in his life, insofar as what's happened as a result of him graduating and becoming like a quote unquote real person in the quote unquote real world as it relates to his career, and thought it would be helpful for other people. So before we get started, oh my God, Darlene, I cannot believe that you're here. This woman took a family photo of us and remembers you when you were a baby. Thanks for joining. Sarah Clay, thanks for joining from the UK if you returned back from your US tour. And also another LinkedIn user here anonymously, and Ken Lang, always a wonderful, wonderful supporter. So as I was saying, this guy is my son. His name is Sam. And Sam, what is, like, give us kind of the state of the union insofar as, what it looks like when you're about to graduate, right? You're like going through this kind of like, ooh, I am leaving the nest of my college years, some level of
Sure.
structure, right? I'm going to classes, and given the confusion that's going on in your head, independent of entering the marketplace, what are you going through as a new grad? And more specifically, what is your suggestion for the best use of time when you are encroaching on that new phase of life?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you again face to face. You were just visiting me in Mexico. That was an amazing trip. So it's nice to be here and see you next week in person in Chicago as well. In regards to your question, I think I remember really just a flurry of thoughts. It's like, where do I want to work? What kind of type of company? What city? And for me, it really came down to what city. I knew I wanted to be in New York out of college, and that helped me check a lot of boxes. And my next step there was like, let's visit AJ, my brother, and plan a whole bunch of meetings and meet a whole bunch of people and just get a feel for what these companies were. A lot of times we put a lot on our plate before we're even getting ready to come at it with some sort of strategy. So what I wrote down was stepping stones, identifying what was going to help me get to the next level of an interview, identifying what was going to get me to the next level of my career. B&H was a great stepping stone. It moved me from journalism into a journalism business degree. And that really, really helped me kind of like relax a bit and not necessarily tackle my dream job right away. It was just a stepping stone. It got me to New York. It got me into an industry that I was interested in. It also got me into the flow of commuting every day to work and seeing what that process was like and meeting people on a team and traveling. Originally, obviously we got hit with COVID, but for the first 4 months when I was actually commuting every day and I had moved to New York, my hesitancies of the job were less focused about, is this going to be my career forever? And it was more just excitement of being in New York, the industry, and learning. We'll talk a lot about learning today, but I'll say stepping stones is the first one.
So stepping stones, I love this because I think for any of us, whether you're about to graduate or even like, somebody in their latter years, like myself, we take on these goals and we think, oh my God, got to eat the entire elephant at once. And how am I going to get there? And it gets very, very, very overwhelming. So some of the things I heard you say were, I wanted to create some stepping stones. One was get myself to New York because I know that's my place. Number two, start talking to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Test the marketplace. Do some experimentations with respect to what do these people do? What do these people do? And then also stepping stones in terms of actually putting yourself in a place and experiencing it maybe as a lifestyle, right? I heard you say I wanted to go to New York. I didn't hear you say I want to move to Boise, Idawa, Idaho. So, I mean, Idaho, I just made that up. I merged two states, but you get it, right? You tried on something. And then the last piece that I think is super important was you weren't going in it thinking, this is my be all and end all, right? This is not my dream job necessarily. If it shows up, great. But my expectation is that I need to check these first boxes and then probe even deeper. So I love that you were able to break that down and make it somewhat digestible. The next areas, okay, so tell us, out of all of that, and stepping on the stepping stones, where did you start to yield some level of success? Where was that when you started to say, okay, you know what, I'm getting some traction here?
Yeah. It happened with bucket listers for sure, but I wrote the word down conversation. I realized during the interview process that they cared a lot less about my skill set and they cared a lot more about who I was as a person. And the conversation and my habits and my hobbies and all of that started to stick out. And very quickly, that was the connection that I had with my manager who was interviewing me at the time. And it was this conversation of who is Sam? Does he fit our brand? Does he fit our culture? Clearly that was a yes, but it wasn't a yes right away. The second part of it is persistence. So, really just following up and continuing to show my interest and clearly having a passion for the brand. Once I identified that I wanted to leave B&H, I was locked and loaded on bucket listers and everything that they had to offer. And, I spoke to my manager, Jeff, recently, and he was like, I didn't think you were going to take no for an answer. It just seemed like you were doing this well in terms of not reaching out every day. I wasn't badgering him or annoying him, but I was sending him photos of my recent travels and saying, hey, look, I was just in Sedona and this is the pink Jeep tour that we did as a family. Heard you like Sedona, also tying it into something that bucket listers might be offering. He could tell I was brainstorming, not just about wanting the job, but brainstorming what I was going to do with the job when I would have the job. So he saw that.
This is eureka moment. I did not know this, and that's all good. But I think that the point that is so relevant for all of us is that you went beyond the job description. Yeah. You went way beyond what was
without even knowing it.
And without even knowing it. And what do you think that speaks to? What does that say about you? Why did you do that? Why did you go beyond that?
I identified that I wanted career growth after B&H. I really was like, what am I missing right now? And it's confidence in my career. It wasn't something that I saw the mapped out growth that was going to come. B&H was a great stepping stone, but it really was for me a stepping stone. It wasn't something that I saw being for 5-10 years. And that was okay. And I was okay with that. And once I swallowed that pill and said, it's okay that, I'm not going to be there for 20 years. It's actually really good. I'll be at a big company now. I'll be at a small company. I'll be able to learn more from new people. I was looking for mentorship and I was looking for a whole bunch more. I just wanted more. I wanted access to feeling like my voice was heard. I wanted access to the leadership team. I wanted to be a part of a growing company. And so all of that led into internally, subconsciously, no is not going to be an answer. I'm going to make sure that I continue to get this job or push for this job, regardless of my skill set, because I was missing a lot that was on the job description.
Wow. Okay. So I want to take a pause because we've got some people that are chiming in here. The one and only John Supple, Thank you so much. I got the peace signs here. And then
John.
shout out to Sarah Clay. Over delivering works.
Yeah.
What a concept, and then from my man, solid follow-up is a lost art, and it was going to be a key skill for success in business development. Follow up, that's what they say, cliche or not, the fortune is in the follow-up. So you were hungry, and when you get that fire in your belly, it's so easy to actually look for those opportunities and then seize them. And you said, I saw growth. Just as an FYI, for any of you who don't know, B&H is B&H Photo and Video, a global organization. Actually, they're based in New York City, but they serve major clients like
Peloton, Chipotle, Nike, all the NFL sport teams. It's a very cool company. I really did enjoy my time.
Right. So that was his first job out of school. It wasn't a fit long term. That's okay. At that moment, it was like, okay, time to find some other opportunities. And he got the fire in his belly and went after it. I love the piece that you shared about how you were sending photos to them. Yeah. And showing them, where your ideas could actually be useful to them. Another key point that I really heard in what you're sharing is you made this about them and what your contributions were likely to be versus I want this job, I want this job, I want this job. It was really allowing them to see you in that role.
Nice.
Now they are envisioning you there. And I know you're a big manifester, so it completely worked. Tell us also, what was a complete waste of time, right? When you're without a structure, embarking on your career, going all over the place, it's easy to see this bright, shiny object over here and get distracted down that rabbit hole. So what should anybody who's a new grad or anybody who is embarking on their search avoid?
Yeah, I wrote down 3 words: vagueness, stress, and then money. Vagueness, because I think you just need to have some specifics. I remember through networking conversations, they were like, so like, what do you want to do? And I wasn't able to identify exactly what I was able, what I wanted to do. It's probably something that's learned experience. You have to do something, see if you like it, and then move from there. The stress is just something that, through mindfulness and everything else that is jumped into my life, stressing about things that are out of your control has been something that I don't really do anymore. If it's not in my control, I don't stress about it, because if it's me competing with someone else on the job market, I know that I was between me and one other person when I was applying for bucket listers. I put my best foot forward out there. Why would I stress about what this other person's doing, what her experience was, anything like that? And then money. When I moved to New York, that first salary might not have been as high as my other friends or anything like that. My goal was to move to New York. Simple as that. Second, when I moved to bucket listers, I took a base pay cut and I was okay with that. This is going to be something that aligns with my life more. So stressing about money when I'm in my early 20s is not something that I need to do. When I have kids and family, yeah, I'm focused on money. I obviously want to make a lot of money, but it's not something that drives a decision.
Oh my goodness. Do we all need to hear this, myself included? Vagueness. If you are networking, if you are speaking in a job interview, specificity is your secret sauce.
Oh, yeah.
And that really helps to identify, not only do you know what you're all about, but then you can be specific about what you're going to bring to them. Stressing about things that are far outside your realm of control, right? That's just noise. And it's often not only a distraction, but it can be a cyclone and it can take you down because it can get very overwhelming. And then money. I love this. I love that money is not a non-issue. It's not a non-issue. You still need to eat. You still need to do things, but it's not the driver for why you're going to do something. And you have taken pay cuts, and you have been able to also exceed where you were before because the mission and the clarity were in alignment. And this is something that I do think everyone misses. We go after things because it looks to be a certain way, and oftentimes we don't check in with ourselves. Is this something I really want to do, or am I taking this because it's a check the box, or I'm going to be able to make X amount of money, and then we find ourselves somewhat dissatisfied.
Sure.
So I want to kind of move this over a little bit. I also am going to give some shout out. Hey, Jay, thanks for joining. And another comment from the John out in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. He says, Sam is a leaner inner and isn't afraid to face fear. Fear is a teacher, and we can all learn from that regardless of age. Our anonymous LinkedIn user, wish I had figured this out at that age. And Denise, yay. Hi, hey, Denise from Houston. Craig, always the king of values, stressing that our outside, your control is noise and the distraction to take you down like a cyclone. Hell yeah. So we're going to take a little bit of a pivot for all of us people who are parents. And this is not an easy road to straddle, right? What balance should we strike when we see our soon-to-be graduate or new graduate, and we want to be maybe loving and supportive without necessarily over-coddling or enabling them? Tell it to me straight, because I'm sure I screwed this up.
I think that it's so important that you act as a resource, but not as somebody that is like telling you what to do. You're just a resource. So my dad did an amazing job setting me up with 5 to 10 people in the industry or any industry. Like I was talking to finance people, real estate people, that I knew I wasn't going to do that. It's just good to rip off the Band-Aid and have conversations with professionals, get dressed up and commute out into Chicago and go into an office space and meet other people in the office. So I wrote down that basically you should be a resource for your kid, but show them how. Ask them if they have 3 to 5 friends that want to speak to them about their profession. And then so say my dad's a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. Well, I have 5 lawyer friends that, would use my dad as a resource. He makes himself available to talk. All of a sudden there's a network of parents that are talking to kids about, what those paths, what those stepping stones look like. That was big for me. It was just meeting more people, having conversations, commuting through New York and hopping around New York because I have a meeting at the NFL, office here, and then I have a meeting at IBS here and every UBS and everything like that. So I just remember flying around and meeting family friends. What was really nice was a lot of them weren't strangers. They're people that I'd met before, just not in a professional capacity. So it eased my nerves to say, hey, Steve, or hey, Keith, and, see people that I'd already seen that are now just there to help me. Like what we don't realize is that so many people are there to help you. And sometimes it's the parents that don't realize that they should be helping their kids in a more indirect way, not just telling them what to do, but showing them by being a resource for other kids.
So this goes back to another one of our adages, show me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
I think that that's super important. And to ride the line of opening, being that resource, opening up your Rolodex, thinking even as a parent, who does my child or my new grad, who do they know that could be useful to them? And then letting them go and have those conversations and, again, not controlling what that outcome looks like.
Yeah. And I would frame that conversation as exactly what that is a conversation. You're not speaking to these people to get a job. Most of those interviews weren't interviews. They were just conversations to learn about an industry or something like that. So walking into everything being, how can they help me? Then I need a job from them. That's not how you want to go about it. It's got to be more of a conversation. We're just out here to learn.
And so when you had those conversations, how would you leave that? Right? Thanks so much. What would happen thereafter?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a leading question because you know what I did, but it's follow-ups. It's you follow up with them, especially when you don't need a job. So I like to follow up with them. Right now, I'm really content with the job I have. still follow up with them, share my achievements and my goals and say, thanks for getting me to this point. But it's not something where, I'm only reaching out to them every time I need a job. That's not a relationship, and that's not mutually beneficial.
Okay, preach. I gotta scream. Follow up when you don't need a job. Follow up just because clearly they've done you a solid, right?
And you're appreciative. Yeah.
They really have. And also, you're building a relationship. This isn't a one and done, right? That is just the beginning. And clearly, in the cases that you've described, you had a relationship with them before in a different capacity. And from what I understand, one of the fathers of your friends from college is now your client.
Yep, absolutely. Miles, who I ran a marathon with. So of course, I mean, it's just, I'm learning so much more about genuine networking. I understand what networking is, where you're just like, whoever I can talk to. Genuine networking is people that you already have like established relationships with, or that you've built something on a genuine level that isn't just asking for a favor all the time.
Right. We also call that strategic networking, right? Sure. Where there's a real lens on.
I made that up on the spot, genuinely.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all good. We like to ad lib here.
Yeah.
I'm going to also give you the opportunity, since you have been out of the States for about 5 months, and you've been on a huge adventure with your company. Mm-hmm. So what I really would love to hear is, first and foremost, like, coming back from Mexico, why did you even want to go there? What was that all about? Like, was that a deliberate thought, or was it a boondoggle? Help us out.
Boondoggle. Whoa. Yeah. So Mexico came to mind when my lease was ending in October of last year in New York. And basically it's like, am I going to renew in New York and do another 12-month lease? I've already done 2 years there. Or am I going to chase something else? And I wasn't looking at moving anywhere, but I was looking at what skills did I want to add. It was, the reason I left college to move to New York, I wanted to be in New York. The reason I left New York, I wanted to find a new skill. And number one on that was Spanish. I really wanted to learn Spanish, and I really felt the only way to do it was to immerse myself in the culture. It's also something that I've been saying is a pattern. I want to go to other places. I want to live in London. I want to live in Austin, Texas, and potentially learn music. I want to, do a whole bunch more and pick up skills along the way. So I'll identify a place and I'll say, what skill can I attach? That basically means if I didn't like Mexico, if I didn't enjoy a single moment and didn't make a single friend, I'd still leave learning Spanish. And that'd still be something that I now can pull into my life and use as an asset. So that's the reason that I moved to Mexico. Of course, what came out of it was so much more.
Yes. So I love this. So the mindset is, what new skill can I learn with each new experience? So it's like skill, experience, bam, now I'm there. And whatever happens after that, happens after that. And I know that your trip to Mexico, I mean, I was blessed to be able to live it with you, but I do want to ask you, because, people are like, oh, it must be great, he's living in Mexico. Like, how did that work with your boss? What was the agreement that was made in order for you to go and live in Mexico, some of which they paid for, and also be able to deliver on your job?
Yeah, and I appreciated the people that didn't know the full extent of the situation. They thought I was moving to the beach, and I was there to take classes. I was there because Tuesday, Wednesday night, I'm taking night classes, and I'm definitely immersing myself in the culture. And really, my life became a class. I'd walk into every conversation trying to speak Spanish. But when that first got presented, I made a presentation that was more of like a why I should get a new dog type of deal. Like, it was a presentation, a slideshow. I shared it with you. I shared it with my dad, and really work was like the quickest thumbs up. My dad was the hardest to convince. And I was kind of the hardest to convince too. I really wanted to make sure that I was going to be effective in career growth while I was there. So I was mapping out a plan of really making sure that I was elevating my career as well. Work was pretty easy to convince. They understood that I was living the mission of bucket listers, that I was tackling something on my bucket list. that was one of the easier conversations. I'm definitely an asset in New York. It's something that I'm going to be here for a little bit on the East Coast at least. But I think that moving to Mexico was such a personal decision, and I had such support from not only my parents and family and friends, but from work.
So were they, and I don't mean this in a just as an overstatement, were they micromanaging? Were they saying, okay, you need to work this amount of hours, you need to do this, your output needs to do that? What was the agreement?
It's hard to micromanage when you have someone that's hustling and, you know, crushing their job every day and really invested in meetings. You know, reliability is something I learned at B&H, and it's the consistency of a routine, of a commute, of being there every day and learning and being a sponge. Well, I brought that into bucket listers, and I was reliable. I was someone that they could trust. So trust goes a long way. I didn't get the job and move to Mexico. I worked at bucket listers for 5-6 months beforehand. So they'd seen me work. They saw how organized I was, and the work ethic that I had, that I'd built, because I didn't always have a strong work ethic, definitely not in college. And so yeah, I think that they trusted me, and that trust never wavered when those first couple months in Mexico were some of my best and most growth months.
This is great. Hey, Andrea. Thank you. So Andrea is a career coach for college student. Couldn't have a better guest here. Sam, have there been any downsides to moving to Mexico? And what about the upsides?
Yeah, so I'll say downsides, like none. The only thing is family time. Like, you recognize that there's people that you want to see, Nana and Papa, and that you missing maybe a holiday. But it was special. AJ visiting me for Thanksgiving was huge, because Thanksgiving is definitely a day that in America is special to me, and in Mexico maybe is just another Wednesday or Thursday. So that's the only downside. Mexico was amazing. The upside was, of course, independence, traveling, learning a language, struggling as well. For me, that was an upside, like struggling, getting lost and not knowing where I'm going, struggling of like, where am I living the next week if I'm moving out of San Miguel for that weekend and I'm going to Puerto Escondido or Mexico City. That helps you navigate, because, you know, what are the bare necessities that you need? You need to live somewhere, you need quality food, and you need to have a place to work. Like, I can't not just ignore work. So it was something that was always top of mind, of how can I make work fun and discover a city at the same time. And that's usually how I became someone that bounced around a city and saw every spot in Mexico City and every spot in San Miguel, and they all became my workstations.
Awesome. Your workstations, your work colleagues, right? Your coffee shop, your coffee clutchers.
Yeah, that's how you make friends though too.
Exactly. So we're gonna start to wrap this up, and I wanted to ask you, because coming out of the adventures in Mexico changed you, right? And you shared with me in a video that I recorded, also was available on LinkedIn, that one of your biggest takeaways of traveling and working your job during the day, learning Spanish, all of the adventures somewhat boiled down to being obsessed with learning.
Yeah.
And so I'd love you to share for all of us what that really means for you and what that is for other people, and why this is such a driver for your success and can be for ours.
Awesome. I'll touch base on a little bit of what I learned about meeting people of other ages and how refreshing that was for me. But I did prepare in the shower, maybe like an hour before this, like ABCs of Sam. And I realized that these are 3 words that I use all the time. I'll go backwards. I'll start with C, and it's curiosity. And I always write curiosity, never let it stop, because that drives your passion for learning. Like, what are you curious about? Well, don't just like kind of make a note of it, like dive into it. And I love that. The other one is balance. That's the B. And it's this idea of, I love work, but I'm working super interesting hours where maybe I'm traveling during the day and I work at night. when are those work hours stopping, and when are they transitioning into my side passions? When are they talking about writing or photography or teaching mindfulness, running, of course? And that all feeds into the A, which is the less sexy of the two words, of the three words, is applicability. I love this idea of applying one skill set to another. So running a marathon really helped me learn Spanish. And the reason that is because it's consistency, and it's a physical challenge. Well, now I want to create a mental challenge, and learning Spanish could really help me learn an instrument, or it could really help me connect with people. I think the number one takeaway from Spanish was that I slowed down my way of thinking. I can think about, do I want to get that perfect word in there? Or do I need to go around and get the message across by using other words, power verbs, or something like that? It helped me with my English. It helped me slow down and think more about what's leaving my mouth. I can never take back that leaves my mouth. So I'm just a lot more present with English because I learned Spanish. And so this idea of applicability is awesome. Can you go back to the question and kind of rephrase it so I can readdress it?
You really nailed all of them, and I love the ABCs. I'm going to reverse this. Applicability. I love the way the question was all about, why should we be obsessed with learning, and, and what does that really mean in your world, and how can we apply that? And I'll do in the reverse order, and the less sexy to the most sexy, which would applicability. I love how you were saying that running the marathon helped you to learn.
Yeah, it's cool.
To learn Spanish. Why? Because you took transferable knowledge. You knew that training for the marathon also meant training with practicing your language.
Of course.
The second one that you talked about was balance. Stopping and starting and having some hard deadlines enforced by yourself to say, you know what, now is a time where I need to feed my body. Now is a time where I need to, get some physical activity in. Now is the time where I need to be heads down and work. So really being able to drive for that balance. And then I'm going to leave with this one, the constant level of curiosity, which also extends into exploration, experimentation, trying new things, letting things unfold. You talked a lot on the video that we did about your alone time, and not just having alone time, but the spontaneity of what that alone time brings to you, where alone time takes you, which I love. Because I think that we sometimes think, oh my God, I'm all alone. What now? I got to fill that time. And then just allowing that to unravel more organically. The last question, and then we're going to really wrap up, is, we're going to end this in a few seconds. What should we all take away from this, whether you're a parent, whether you're a new grad? What do you want to put out there? I know you're a big manifester. What do you want to put out there for people who are embarking in their careers or deep into their careers that they should embrace?
Yeah, I wrote manifestation. I wrote the importance of it, but also just the idea of connecting with other people. I told you I touched on this, but how refreshing it was to learn from people that weren't my age, to spend quality time, to not rush a conversation, but really to listen. And, John's on the call, and John became one of our closest friends. But he wasn't the only one. I was learning from people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Edith is in her 80s. We have so many people that I was learning from, people that were younger than me as well. And then what I learned through that was that I have a lot to teach as well. People were learning from me, and I didn't necessarily recognize that beforehand. And it never came off in like a ego way. It was a conversation. These were always conversations, and people were pulling something from what I was saying, and I was pulling something from what they were saying. And together we were mutually benefiting. So this idea of connection and this idea of manifestation, obviously you have to reevaluate your goals when you start to manifest and you realize that you can do a lot more than what you actually thought. So yeah, that's what I pulled away.
Absolutely fantastic. Conversations are gold gold. And Tegan here is saying, listening is a skill
Oh yeah.
for sure. Our anonymous LinkedIn user, connecting and networking, it always seems to come back to that, doesn't it? Rishab, thank you so much. All of this also emphasizes drive, so you can add that to your D process.
Nice.
And Andrea, big shout out to Sam. You're such a cool guy. Thanks for your wisdom with all of us. Love the ABCs of Sam. So we are going to sign off, everyone. Thank you so much. Do you want to do a shout out for bucket listers?
Yeah, Bucket Listers is definitely hiring right now. We're a rapidly growing company. Check us out on our Instagram pages because that's where you'll really get to see what the brand is all about. We're planning events and activities in the cities. We're working with small local businesses, planning some awesome events that basically are inspiring experiences, making you buy an experience and create a memory rather than like a material item.
And what is the mission of Bucket Listers, just so people can hear that too?
Yeah, it's inspiring experiences. Like we said, we want people to have a date night out or have a special moment with their family and friends. We want you to push your comfort zone, but really our goal is to have you explore a city that you live in. So most people are in that city, they're following the New York bucket list account because they want to go to maybe their favorite restaurant, but in a different way, or they want to discover new places, best speakeasies or, outdoor gardens, workspaces, everything like that. Bucket Listers really is a guide for your life in a lot of ways. It's what I was doing before I got hired.
Right. So I like to say Bucket Listers helps you live your bucket list.
Nice.
And so, if you are somebody that is interested in living your bucket list, go explore that. And thank you for really helping me to live my bucket list and having so many wonderful experiences through you. I have to just chime in because I can't not. It would be just like a completely disingenuous thing to say anything less than I am just beyond in awe and proud of you and what you've created. And thank you for sharing it with me so closely and so many other people. So I want you to have a great day. I know you're in Philly now, visiting your family. You're like, Sam, where's Sam? Nomadic Sam. So it's not easy to keep up with you. Next week, you're coming back to Chicago. Then it's Austin. Then I understand, are you still running the marathon in Greece?
I'm working on it. Yeah, that's in November. Athens, Greece.
Athens, Greece, and then New Year's in New Zealand.
Yep.
I like it. No grass growing underneath your feet. Have a great rest of your day, Sam. Hang around for a couple seconds after, and we'll talk offline. We're going to end this broadcast. Thank you, everybody, and have an awesome Wednesday. See you next week with a special secret guest. I can't say, but just you wait. Talk soon. Bye-bye.